If joy had a volume knob, mine's been turned down for years. I learned to smile on cue, to keep the peace, to keep the house spotless and the doubts quieter. But this little heartbeat, she's louder than the rules in this place. They talk about legacy, about sons carrying names, about headlines and handshakes. I count breaths between appointments and wonder if my baby can hear how people weigh her value. I press 2 fingers to my wrist and promise I'll be the steady beat she recognizes. I tell her stories I never got to live, about sunlight on porches and kitchens that smell like cinnamon, about laughter you don't have to earn. When the room goes cold, I whisper her name, even though they told me not to choose one yet. I fold tiny clothes in my mind. Pink, blue, doesn't matter. Soft is what matters. Safe is what matters. If they want a number, a verdict, a headline, they can keep it. She's not a ledger line. I am more than quiet compliance. She's proof I'm still here, learning to turn myself up, one brave notch at a time. Dinner at the Nolans is a clock you can hear. Plates land like deadlines. Smiles are assignments. Keith talks about the firm and legacy, while his mother refills my water as if compliance comes with ice. Vanessa scrolls headlines she swears don't matter, but somehow every story ends in our last name. They ask about the nursery and then correct my answers. Blue is safer. Strong names carry farther. Pediatricians who golf are connected. I nod until my neck aches. We are a house of calendars, checkups, galas, ultrasounds slotted between long strategy calls. The list on the fridge has columns. Boy names full, girl names thin. They call it planning. I call it weather. Pressure settles in the drywall. I measure my words, count the chews, keep track of how often I excuse myself to breathe. Keith squeezes my knee beneath the table. Reassurance or warning, I can't tell anymore. They toast to the future, and I taste metal. Everyone laughs when someone jokes about a do-over if fate gets the gender wrong. I hold my glass with both hands and think, this house loves control more than it loves children. The room broke without a sound. The text smiled too long, the screen went dark, and the word girl floated between us like a secret no one wanted. Victoria fixed her pearls, as if they could hold the family crest in place. Andrew started talking about second opinions and legacy, about branches of a tree that only grow one way. Keith squeezed my shoulder, gentle enough to look kind, firm enough to warn me. They called it timing. They called it pressure. They called it what families do. I heard bargaining. I heard disappointment wrapped in etiquette. I heard a door locking from the inside. Back home, calendars came out. Diets, vitamins, prayers, a plan to try again before the year end. Someone said, "It is early. There are options." My mouth tasted like metal. Keith stared at the wall, counting fixes that spared him. I nodded through advice I had not asked for, through touches that felt like signatures. The house smelled like polished wood and fear. I counted the beats I could feel under my palm and promised her I would not let them rename her into nothing. After the ultrasound, the house didn't feel like home. It felt like a courtroom with the verdict already signed, my sentence paper-clipped to a grainy picture of my baby. No one raised a voice. They didn't need to. The quiet handled everything, polite, polished, punishing. Hallway lights hummed like interrogators. The framed photos on the mantel looked past me as if I were glare on glass. Even the dog hovered in the doorway, unsure whose side gravity chose. I kept a hand on my belly and whispered to her, "You are not a mistake, and I am not a crime. Tonight." They called it disappointment, like weather that would pass if I apologized to the sky. There were suggestions wrapped in smiles. Maybe the tech misread. Maybe we should get a second opinion. Maybe God was teaching patience. Then there were suggestions not wrapped at all. A surrogate next time. A miracle specialist. a clinic in another state, a cousin who could advise. The guest room was made, only for me. The china stayed in the dining room. Paper plates came out for my dinner. The family group chat kept buzzing without me, like a doorbell I wasn't allowed to answer anyway. I learned new rules overnight. Don't say she in front of donors. Don't post anything pink. Don't look tired in public. Smile at the fundraiser. Wear flats under the gown, and for the love of our family, don't cry. If I wanted soup, the kitchen suddenly closed. If I wanted air, the driver was unavailable. A card that worked yesterday blinked red at the pharmacy when I tried to buy prenatal vitamins. I held a paper bag I couldn't pay for while strangers watched, as if I had stolen something instead of trying to care for my child and myself. Keith texted, "We need space to think. Please be considerate." It read like a legal memo with the empathy edited out. Vanessa left a voicemail that sounded like a press release. "We'll regroup after the weekend. This is sensitive. Sensitive as in, don't bleed, don't breathe, don't be seen." A publicist I'd never met emailed talking points for an event I might ruin by existing. The subject line said, "Stability." I stared at it and wondered when stability started meaning silence, and when family started meaning audience, and when love started meaning terms and conditions, without any room for grace. I carried the sonogram to the laundry room because it was the only warm place left. The ink had streaked across the curve of her cheek. I named her in my head and said it out loud, softly enough that the vents couldn't tell on me. Not a negotiation, not a placeholder, a name. My ring kept sliding with the swelling, so I set it by the stain remover. I told my daughter the truth. People can choose you or their image, and today, this house chose its reflection. They can keep their rules. We will keep our breath. Safe. Rosa doesn't knock. She waits until the voices bleed into the walls and the Nolan's chandelier stops twitching like it has nerves. Then she appears in the doorway with a dish towel and that look that counts damage without assigning blame. She doesn't ask what the doctor said. She reads the room instead. Ultrasound folded wrong, frame face down, my hands shaking around air. She moves like she's stepping through church aisles. The towel becomes a cool press on my cheek. Her other hand writes the frame, smooths the ultrasound, tucks it into my palm like a passport. "Para tu niña," she murmurs, almost to herself, and the word girl finally lands without bruising. Rosa trades in quiet mercies, a glass of water with lemon, a sweater from the dryer that still remembers warmth. She slides 2 prenatal vitamins across the table like contraband and shrugs when I stare. She goes fishing under the couch for my slippers, lines them up toe to toe, as if the next step might be gentle. She doesn't tell me to leave. She doesn't tell me to stay. She tells me to breathe, counting on her fingers until my ribcage learns the rhythm again. When the house settles and the floorboards quit listening, she leans close and says, steady as a metronome, "You are not the mistake." It sounds impossible and true at the same time. She sees me, not failure. On the counter, she leaves a brown paper bag that looks like lunch. Inside, a granola bar, a transit card with just enough fare, a tiny bottle of lotion that smells like orange peel, and cash folded around a number I don't recognize. She closes my fingers over it, taps once. No lecture, no rescue speech, just a map that fits in a pocket. Before she goes, she wipes the spilled tea, gathers the shards the family didn't see, and tucks them into the trash like secrets. At the door, she glances back, measuring the hallway the way a swimmer measures distance. "Lama si necesitas," she says. "Mañana, estoy aquí." Tomorrow, she'll be here. When the quiet returns, it has edges but no teeth. I sit with the picture against my chest and let the clock do its slow work. If love has a sound, maybe it's a dish towel wrung out, a bus card sliding across laminate, A woman saying my daughter's name without fear. Doors have two sides. This one is not mine anymore. I hear it in Evelyn's tone, the way kindness is folded sharp and tucked like a napkin. She doesn't threaten, she schedules consequences. Tessa toe-taps a sagging tote and calls it a charity bag, a word meant to bless as it bruises. I don't argue. I know the economy here, who invoices and who gets itemized. I hold my belly with one hand and the strap with the other. The house smells like lemon polish and promises that only count if you're useful. There's a framed photo beside the door where I look like an extra in someone else's triumph. I won't give it a goodbye. I won't give them my tears. They say I'm choosing chaos by refusing their plan, as if a baby girl could topple their dynasty just by existing. They say I'm ungrateful, as if gratitude is a lease that never ends. They say a lot of things. None of them include my name. On the inside, rules wear pearls and smile for fundraisers. On the outside, weather does not know your last name. I open the door myself, because being escorted feels like one more humiliation I don't owe. The air is clean now. The bag bumps my hip like a petty metronome. A sprinkler ticks. A neighbor's dog barks and then forgets me. I step one plank down, then another, feeling for steadiness as a swimmer tests the water. The door clicks behind me, polite, final, like a period closing a paragraph I didn't write. If I stand here, I become a cautionary tale. If I move, I become my own story. I look at the street, at the bus stop, at a sky too big to fit over a mansion. Rosa's eyes cross my mind. Soft, certain, how someone looks when they believe you before the evidence arrives. I tell my baby, we are leaving with our names intact. We will find a place where doors open because hands are kind, not because papers say we earned it. And we will knock if we have to. People think leave is one action. It's 1,000 decisions. Left foot, right foot. 1,000 tiny yeses when your legs are lead and the sky can't hold itself together. The rain starts polite, then forgets how to be. It finds the edge of my collar and runs its fingers down my spine. I keep one palm over the small, stubborn drum of you. Hey, little heartbeat, we're doing this slow. We're not fleeing. We're choosing. We're naming every wet square as ours, just long enough to step off it. The sidewalks here are tidy, as if money can mop weather. Gates blink past. Cameras pretend they don't see. Breathe, Grace. 4 in, 4 out. Don't slip. Don't think about the kitchen lights, the white plates, the voice that measured you by what you could provide. Think about warmth. Think about a chair. Think about any door that opens toward us. The house is thin. Lawns turn to the kind of grass that remembers knees. Streetlights stretch farther apart until they're guesses. My shoes squish. My hair sticks. My ring finger feels naked and lighter than honesty. Keep going. Left foot, right foot. A car slides by with laughter inside it. I keep my hands to myself. I keep counting the seams between curb and road and smaller road. The map in my head is just a line that says away. Away is enough for now. You kick, or the road jolts, and either way it steadies me. I tell you about a diner ahead, fries under heat lamps, a chipped mug with something warm. I tell you about a laundromat that hums like oceans. If the story is wrong, we'll change it when we arrive. People think leaving is a slam. It's a soft closing, again and again, each step easing the door shut without waking the house. We are soaked. We are cold. We are still ours. Left foot, right foot. Forward is the only dry thing I can imagine. We keep going until the rain tires, until a light says stop, and a door remembers how to welcome. Rain turns the road into a long mirror I don't recognize. My breath shows up before I do, short and fogged, counting for me when my brain can't. I keep one hand under my belly, like a brace I cobbled together from stubbornness. Left foot, right foot. I tell myself it's just weather, just distance, just tonight. The baby shifts, a small nudge that feels like a vote of confidence and a warning at the same time. The tote slides on my shoulder, damp fabric on damp skin, then slips free. It lands with a dull flop. I crouch to grab it and the world tilts, edges going gray like a screen dimming to save power. Bills spill out and stick to the pavement, skinny green flags plastered flat. I reach for them because that's what you do. You gather what's left. My fingers are clumsy, more bone than hand. I list what I own. A tote that doesn't close, 2 wet bills, a daughter nobody wants, and a name that keeps getting smaller. Saying it out loud would break me, so I keep it inside, quiet and counted, like beads on a cord. I press my palm to the hard curve of her and whisper the secret name I've been saving, the one no one can take because no one knows it. It warms a spot under my ribs, small as a button, bright as a pilot light that refuses to go out. A cramp rolls through, heavy and deliberate, not sharp, more like a door leaning shut against my hands. I breathe around it. In, 2, 3, out, 2, 3. The rain threads into my collar, into my shoes, into thoughts I was trying to keep dry. Houses watch without blinking. No porches open, no lights change. My knees give first. Then the rest follows. Careful, sideways, arms around her. Asphalt presses its cold through my coat. I apologize to her, to my body, to the stranger I used to be. We'll get up on the next try, I say. If not, we'll crawl, then stand anyway. We always do. My body feels borrowed, heavy where it hurts, hollow where it should be solid. Rain needles my scalp. And somewhere under the ache there's a tiny drum insisting I stay. A car slows. Footsteps approach. Unhurried. Steady. A voice. Can you hear me? It's calm, like a hand that knows where to go. I want to answer. My mouth won't. A jacket settles over me, shutting out the sky. Fingers find my pulse, then my wrist, then stillness. She's breathing. Easy. No panic, no lecture, just inventory, action, care. Another voice, lighter, quick, says he's got my bag, my soaked bills, my whole mess without wincing. I am not a scene to them. I'm a person to move, protect, keep warm. Arms slide under my shoulders and hips with practiced patience. The lift isn't a yank. It's a promise kept quietly. The jacket smells like clean laundry and rain. A car's interior opens like a small bright room. Heat breathes from the vents. Fabric touches my cheek. I'm Logan, the first voice says. We're taking you in. In, not away. Safe, not trapped. Words can bruise. His don't. I try to say baby. He nods before I finish. We'll make sure she's okay. She. He says it like fact, not disappointment. My eyes sting for the first time tonight, not from rain. The other one, Drew, counts what fell and hands it back like dignity. He asks for the nearest hospital. Logan answers like he already knew. Wipers thrum a rhythm I can breathe with. In, out, again. Streetlights slip by. I practice staying. I remember all the times help came wrapped in conditions, paperwork, favors owed. This isn't that. No cameras, no pity, no cost quoted first. Just 2 strangers doing the work like it's normal to stop for a woman disappearing in the rain. I study the driver's hands. Short nails. A pale scar at the knuckle. Fixer's hands. He checks the mirror, not to admire himself, but to keep me in the frame. You with me? He asks. I find my voice. Yes. Please. Don't let go. The car moves and I let trust in. Warmth. Light. Paper forms moving faster than I can read. A pen taps. Shoes squeak. Someone says my name like it belongs to a different woman. Questions land soft and precise. Weeks, pain, allergies. A cool hand finds my wrist, counts a rhythm I can't hold on my own. I taste cotton and lemon, feel towels press in, blankets climb my legs. The rain is somewhere outside. A man answers for me, steady, a breath hooked to mine. She's pregnant, he says. She collapsed. His voice is a railing I grip with one finger. I try to speak. Cramps, dizziness, not eating, leaving, but the words smear and float away. We've got you, a woman promises. I'm Dr. Emily Miller. Her name pins me to the bed like an anchor, but gentle. A cuff tightens, stickers kiss my chest, a needle warms the crook of my arm. Sugar. They say sugar. Fluids. Rest. Numbers click. The word safe repeats. A quiet metronome. My daughter flickers under my palm, a small fish in a shallow stream. I whisper, or think I do. I'm here. Stay. Lights scroll above me like windows to daytime. Doors sigh open. Wheels whisper. Paper learns how to spell me. You're not alone, the man says again. Logan, I think. Unknown and familiar at once. I let myself believe him long enough to set something heavy down. Warmth. Light. The forms keep moving. My eyelids grow full, like pockets. I fold into the brightness and trust it to hold us both. Later, when the room stopped spinning, I learned they mistook him for family. In the hallway, Miller pressed a clipboard into his hands, rattled off tasks, admissions, insurance, a hot cup of something, a prenatal drink, and he nodded like the list was oxygen. No speeches, no questions about who I was or whether I'd earned the trouble. He moved, like it was simple. In the house I left, help got audited like a luxury tax, every kindness balanced against a headline or a last name. He treated it like crosswalk rules. See the light, step forward, keep going. A nurse told me he jogged to the cafeteria, rain still in his sleeves, asked a stranger what pregnant women keep down, and came back with oatmeal steaming and a shake cold enough to bite. He signed where the forms pointed, called me ma'am, spelled a last name that wasn't his, and stood in the drafty doorway until... I keep a catalog of faces that look past me. He didn't join it. He carried the errands like they were fragile, like the heat of the bowl mattered because I might keep it down if it stayed warm. The quiet ones rarely take credit. They take responsibility. Even people who misjudged him handed him a list, and he just did it. There's a kind of steady that doesn't audition. It shows up, pays attention, and vanishes when the job is done. For 90 minutes in a hallway, he was the family I didn't have. Rescue, I learned, can be quiet. No speeches, no spotlight. A tray appears like a small island of ordinary, plain rice porridge steaming, a carton of prenatal milk beating sweat onto plastic, a disposable spoon still in its wrapper. The napkin folded once, square, like he thought about clean starts. The receipt stays tucked under the lip, numbers facing up. Timestamp circled, proof and permission in one. This is yours, not leverage. He doesn't hover. No questions shaped like kindness, no net of biography thrown over my bed. He doesn't ask who hurt me, or why I was there, or what my plan is. The room stays wide because he chooses not to fill it. I have known help that arrives with ledgers, help that demands a confession to unlock each bite. This isn't that. The small mercies. He noticed the straws. He picked soft food. He set it within reach, on the side that won't make me twist. He checks the nurse with his eyes, not his mouth. He leaves a path to the door. I tell myself to remember this. Not every hand wants credit. Not every witness needs my history to feel useful. Somewhere in the hall, paperwork keeps breathing. Somewhere, people assign worth with clipboards and rings. Here, there is heat against my palms and a taste that says, stay a while. If there is a debt, It isn't a story. It's the one I owe myself. Food, rest, breath. Right this minute. One quiet swallow at a time. I surface slow, like breaking through heavy water. Clean light, a ceiling seam, air going in and out without a fight. The first sound is my own voice. The baby? A beat? Then his answer lands steady. She's okay. Strong heartbeat. Something unclenches beneath my ribs. The room quits tilting. He cracks the lid on a hospital bowl, parks a plastic spoon, nudges the tray closer. He steadies his hands, then eases them away, like he's backing out of my space on purpose. He steadied the bowl, then stepped back, like giving me room to breathe. No questions, no clipboard smile, just presence set to low. I lift the spoon myself. Warm, bland, perfect. My throat remembers how to swallow. Monitors chatter somewhere, but nothing crowds me. He keeps the door a hand's width open, the distance between us easy. If I want more light, he offers the shade. If I don't, he lets the room stay soft. I take inventory. Fingers, working. Ankles, sore but loyal. Belly, tender. Her rhythm still tapping from the inside, small and stubborn. Fear tries to rise and finds no purchase. I say, "Thank you," and he nods. Like thanks isn't a currency he accepts. I don't owe him a history lesson to earn care. I don't have to translate bruises into policy. Food, water, air, choice. He asks nothing except what I want next, and he waits while I decide. I meet his eyes. I am still here. So is she. Both of us waiting. A warm bowl can feel like a promise, not a contract. No fine print. No barter, just heat that waits without questions. The receipt tucks under the tray, edges neat, numbers careful, like proof that kindness can arrive without commentary. My hand shakes anyway. I touch the paper, let it lie flat, as if smoothing a wrinkle could calm the thrum under my ribs. The spoon is light. I lift. I taste. I pause. Salt. Starch. Breath. Again. He doesn't hover. He steadies the bowl and steps back, making space like it's the obvious thing. Space is rare. Doors and voices try to shrink it to tell you where you stop. This is different. I get to decide the next swallow. I get to decide when to set the spoon down. The baby turns, a push from the inside, and for a moment the fear loosens. I study the date on the slip. Memorize it the way you mark a road. The mile where somebody helped and didn't ask for the story first. Maybe he has one. Maybe he doesn't. It isn't mine to hold. This is. Sip, breathe, count to 4. I can do 4. Steam thins. I'm still here. The plastic lid taps the tray when I nudge it aside, a small sound that feels like permission. 2 more spoons, then another. I don't plan beyond that. Warmth, room, rhythm, the faint scratch of the receipt against laminate saying, "Keep going. For tonight, that's enough." And I can keep going. Hallways at night sound like the ocean, steady, indifferent. Outside my door, the man from the rain speaks into his phone, low, decisive. Names I don't know yet. Drew, Ms. Nora Carter. The words land like folded towels. Useful, not loud. Inside, the light softens. Monitors blink without urgency. My hand finds the curve of my belly and waits for the answering flutter. Safe is a small word, but tonight it fits. I can taste plain rice and salt still on my tongue and feel the bowl's heat. I don't ask who he is or why he stayed. I don't ask what the bill will say. Questions can be cages. For now, I measure the room by breaths. Mine, my baby's, the hush between. Through the glass, he paces once, gently, nods, disappears down the hall. A door sighs. Another opens. Somewhere, decisions are being stacked in my favor, at least for an hour. I press my palm to my ribs and practice a new kind of balance. Some doors slam, some open. Tonight, I am learning how to stand between them. Kindness is hardest to accept when you've trained yourself to expect a bill. The door opens without drama, and a woman steps in carrying a weather I can stand. Steady, warm, ordinary. "I'm Nora," she says, and she waits like names are doors you should walk through at your own pace. She asks before touching my belly, before adjusting the pillow, before switching the light. Permission is its own kind of medicine. She checks the monitor and nods at the rhythm that belongs to the two of us. "Steady," she says, and the word slides into me like something I can keep. She sees the tray and suggests, not orders, "A few more bites?" I take the spoon back because taking it feels like saying yes to staying. Then he appears at the threshold, the man who found me on the pavement, Logan. He stands like a hinge, present but not intrusive. "I'll be back after work," he says to the room, to Nora, to me, and sets an envelope in Nora's hand like responsibility should move quietly. He doesn't ask questions to earn the right to help. He doesn't search for a man to answer for me. He just leaves the help and keeps the distance. I wait for the catch, the transaction, the story he wants in exchange. None comes. Nora writes a few notes, tucks the blanket in that nurse way that returns a person to herself, and asks about water, curtains, heat. Every question is multiple choice, and the answers belong to me. I eat 3 careful spoonfuls. My hands shake less. The baby drums her patient drum. Nora talks about banal things, visitor hours, where the bathroom is, how to buzz for her. Like ordinary as a rope she's throwing me. Logan glances once more, checking without pinning me to gratitude, and goes. I keep listening for control disguised as kindness. Instead, I find procedure, vital signs, charting, the soft scrape of a chair moved closer. Even the envelope remains an envelope, not a leash. And I realize something I forgot along the way. Safety can be boring. It can look like people doing their jobs with gentle wrists. Nora tells me to rest. I do, because no one is making me. I set the spoon down, and it stays where I leave it. I keep my story for later, for when I can choose the words. For now, I accept the small truth of this room. I am not alone, and I am not owned. Outside, wheels squeak and phones ring. Inside, time folds into breaths. I memorize this. A bowl, an envelope, 2 professionals, and room enough for me to choose. That feels like safety. Right now. Discharge arrives like a list of small permissions. Sit up. Sip water. Sign here. Dr. Emily Miller's voice is steady, unhurried. Eat on schedule, sleep longer than pride allows, come back on the date circled in blue. She speaks to me, not around me, and my spine remembers its job. Ms. Nora Carter stands by the door with her hands tucked into her cardigan, holding space without filling it. Logan Reed keeps to the back wall, a respectful shadow, like someone holding a door without stepping through. The clipboard feels heavier than it looks. I read every line the way you read a map after getting lost. Slow, stubborn, finger tracing the route so I can't be tricked again. My name is spelled right. That small mercy lands louder than I expect. I sign. The pen scratches proof that my choices aren't rented anymore. Cost sneaks into the room the way draft air does, through a seam you thought was sealed. My chest tightens on reflex, the old reflex that says debt is the price of survival. I start to say, I'll repay, though my wallet is rain and apologies. Nora answers before shame finishes its sentence. Consider it borrowed, return it if and when you can. No stopwatch running, no interest except in your health. Her tone is practical, not pitying, like instructions for tying a knot. I glance at Logan, waiting for the strings. He doesn't offer a speech or a contract wrapped in kindness. He tears a square of paper from a pad and writes neatly, then sets it on the tray. Nothing performative about the gesture. Just digits. A quiet tool. A way to call if the floor tilts again. A number on a note felt lighter than a debt. I kept it anyway. Dr. Miller taps the follow-up time and the sonogram, inviting my eyes to land on planning and proof instead of fear. I tuck the printout where I can reach it. My daughter nudges once, like a small yes. I hear her without words. Keep us fed, keep us steady, keep us ours. Nora closes the soup lid, reminding me to finish later. She says, you, not we, when she talks about next steps, and that tiny pronoun feels like a fence I control. Logan shifts aside as I stand, giving me the aisle, not his arm. Respect looks plain from the outside. From here, it looks radical. At the counter, I write clearly, deliberately. The receipt folds into my pocket. The note folds on top. I walk out carrying both, and myself. Discharge papers fold small, but they still feel like a verdict. The doors slide open and the air outside smells like bleach and rain, and I'm standing there with a plastic bag of vitamins and a bowl's worth of warmth still in my chest. Ms. Nora walks at my pace, nurse steps slowed on purpose, and says, rest, food, repeat. She doesn't say where I'm supposed to put the rest part. I wait for the usual, a sermon, a string, a hook hidden in a favor. Instead, she says she knows a decent place, not a shelter, not a couch with conditions, a spare room, clean sheets, a lock on the door, a quiet kitchen. Room and board, she says, like it's an old-fashioned phrase that still works. A small stipend if you feel better earning it. Light tasks only. You decide. Pride perks up like a stray cat and hisses. Pride asks for an address I can pay for by myself. The math answers back. 2 damp bills in a ruined tote. There's the baby, flipping like she's raising a hand. I hear the doctor's words again. Eat, rest, hydrate. And realize none of those verbs sound like the sidewalk. Nora doesn't fill silence with guesses. She lets it sit until it cools. Then she adds the terms I didn't know I needed. No questions tonight. No deadline on leaving, and we can put it in writing if that makes breathing easier. She says the name of the person whose door it is, Logan, and my ribs remember steady hands and a bowl held without hovering. Responsibility without spotlight. Every bad door I've ever known taught me to listen for the trap. Don't make a mess, don't make noise, don't make trouble, don't make a girl. This door sounds like, eat when you're hungry, sleep when you're tired, text if you're scared. My legs argue for a last-minute miracle, some street that opens into an apartment with my name on the buzzer. The only thing that opens is the ache behind my knees. I imagine writing a receipt for today. Hospital bed, fetal heartbeat, a stranger's list done without commentary, a nurse who asks what I want instead of telling me what I owe. If there's a bill for that, it's not due tonight. So I say yes, but I say it small, like I'm testing the word on my tongue before I hand it to my life. Nora nods like yes is a language she's fluent in. We'll go slow, she says. Slow is a luxury. Slow is a plan. I press my palm to the place my daughter lives and feel her answer in soft knocks, like she recognizes the sound of a key turning toward home. A booklet slides across the counter like a truce. House notes, the cover says in neat blue. Inside, it's ordinary and gentle. Breakfast at 8, lunch at noon, dinner at 6, snacks whenever hunger wins, call if dizzy, text if you can't sleep. Emergency numbers appear twice, once bold, once underlined, as if reassurance needs backups. A column lists foods my body wants: eggs, greens, oatmeal, and things my baby doesn't. Deli meats, unless steaming. Soft cheeses to skip, coffee kept honest. Water before worries. I trace the lines with my eyes and feel my shoulders drop a fraction. Nora points to a sentence and reads it out loud so it sticks. No stairs alone. She says my room is on the ground floor, and if I ever need upstairs, I ask her or Logan. The rule lands soft but firm. Safety with edges. I nod, embarrassed and relieved at the same time, because both feelings can sit in one chair. She turns a page. Light chores only when you feel up to it. Fold towels, water the herbs, label meal prep. Then she looks at me the way a nurse does when she's measuring breath and says, "You set the pace." The word pace wraps around me like a blanket I forgot I owned. Then the money part. Clean, not fussy. Room and board, plus a small stipend. It isn't charity, Nora says. It's an exchange. Your steadiness, our roof. My reflex is to reach for a promise I can't keep. I'll pay it all back by Tuesday, as if debt notices are already licking stamps. But her tone stays practical, not pitying, and the math of safety is simple. A job I could do. A bed I didn't have to borrow. I test the edges because edges are where trouble hides. What if I can't manage a day? She answers. Then you rest. That is the job. She writes on a sticky note. Boundaries are a kindness. You keep yours. We'll keep ours. Something in the floor stops moving. The last page is blank except for a small square that says goals. Nora hands me a pen and doesn't look down. I write, eat 3 meals, drink water, keep baby steady. The list looks childish and brave at the same time. Good, she says. Let the house hold the rest. She shows me the room. Fresh sheets. Low lamp. A chair that doesn't squeak. I apologize for nothing, for once. I set my tote in the corner like a guest asking permission to exist. The booklet goes on the nightstand beside the glass of water she already poured. Rules, yes, but also room. Inside the word and out. For the first time in a long while, the future feels like something I'm allowed to schedule. Steam softens the edges of the kitchen, and the clock hums like a calm heart. I ask if I can help, expecting the usual no, the polite kind that still means don't touch. Nora studies me for a beat, then nudges a bowl of cool water and a handful of carrots across the counter. Only what feels easy, she says, and I hear the difference. Not a test, not a trap. Just room. I rinse at the sink, sleeves pushed past my elbows, the tap whispering over my wrists. My hands remember a rhythm I thought I'd lost. Peel, turn, breathe, repeat. The knife isn't heavy. The counter doesn't vibrate with impatience. No one is timing me. Being useful felt like breathing again. Nora talks in gentles, like a recipe you can't ruin. Keep snacks close. Sit if you feel the smallest pull. Call if the pull becomes a tug. She points at a chair. I nod. Promise to use it. She lets me stand anyway. Trust. Measured out like salt. The door clicks and Logan's steps skim the threshold. Careful, as if noise itself might bruise. He says hello the way you'd close a window softly so the plant on the sill doesn't shiver. He doesn't ask questions that require a biography to answer. He doesn't stare at my belly, or the bruise-shaped tired under my eyes. He washes his hands, dries them on a towel already hanging. Takes a cutting board like he's borrowing, not owning. We move around each other without collision. I line carrot coins in a neat crescent. He opens the fridge and asks, not assumes, "May I?" Nora nods. The evening builds itself out of small permissions. Steam loosens something tight in my chest. I can taste the difference between silence that punishes and quiet that restores. The kitchen light is warm, not interrogating. My shoulders drop on their own. When a seed of nausea stirs, Nora slides a saltine and a glass of water within reach. No comment attached. I sit, because I said I would. I eat one coin of carrot, sweet and clean. I decide to stay upright for 2 minutes more, then rest. 2 minutes is plenty to claim a small square of ordinary. I wipe the board, stack the peels, breathe through the soft ache. I am not a problem to be managed. I am a person making dinner, slowly, and that is enough tonight. The house hums differently at night. Not the anxious hum of a place that counts trophies and heirlooms like their proof of oxygen, but a steadier murmur. Grown-ups tying off the loose threads daylight leaves behind. Through a cracked doorway, I catch the wedge of a desk lamp, 2 silhouettes leaning over a screen, one laugh softened by walls. I don't hear their words. I hear rhythm, keys, pauses, decisions clicking into place like tiles on a floor you can trust. He works like he drives, like he lifted me from the rain, careful, unhurried, already accounting for the bumps no one else notices. His friend gestures big, he answers small, the quiet economy of someone who saves volume for emergencies. It's strange, watching safety keep a schedule. Email sent, file saved, hall light left on just long enough for someone walking in the dark. Nothing grand, just habits that sand down sharp edges before anyone bleeds. My brain, trained by invoices and ultimatums, searches for the catch, the clause, the tally, the price to be named later with a practiced smile. Trauma is a tutor with perfect attendance. It makes you ace every exam where the question is, what will this cost? Tonight, the answers arrive small and ordinary. A door that stays open, a glance at a security ping, not to invade, only to ensure, a nod between men who don't perform goodness because they don't need applause to believe in it. I don't know where the ceiling of this safety is. I only know I need one night under it. One night for food to be energy instead of evidence. One night to believe the lock is for keeping danger out, not keeping me in. One night to hold my belly and feel my daughter roll without bracing for echoes. I rehearse promises to myself. Don't plant dreams in soil you don't own. Fold towels, rinse bowls, keep lists, pay back what you borrow, leave before you overstay. But the body has its own arithmetic. Warmth plus time equals trust. And trust, once it starts, travels quietly like light under a door. In his office, there are no speeches, no bargains, no audit of my history. Only work being done because it needs doing. If rescue can be quiet, maybe healing can be too. Tomorrow, I'll learn the rules. Tonight, the lamp is a small moon, and for the first time in a long time, I let myself rest. Morning asks for proof. I give it paper. 1-lined page, 3 columns. Must, maybe later. Rent gets crossed out, room and board. Like a miracle I don't say out loud. Groceries shrink to fruit, oats, eggs, bus fare, prenatal vitamins, the little fees that used to snowball into shame. I write a rule at the top. No surprises. Recovery is a schedule before it becomes a feeling. Nora teaches me to breathe into the space my ribs forgot. 10 slow counts, shoulders soft, hands on the curve of my belly. The stretch is gentle, not a punishment. Only what feels steady, she says, and my body believes her before my brain does. We set small goals. Water the garden before the sun turns bossy. Fold towels like quiet origami. Label containers so hunger doesn't have to think. I chart hours like stepping stones. Wake, eat, move, rest, hydrate, repeat. Training wheels for a nervous system. Usefulness returns by teaspoons. A tidy stack. A plant that stops drooping. A sticky note that finds the right shelf. I don't owe anyone a speech about yesterday. I owe this child a calmer today. There's a superstition in me that joy can't stand checklists. But order isn't joy. It's the door frame that holds when the wind kicks in. So I bless every little box I get to tick. The pencil shavings curling like ribbon, the sink water running clear. Logan's number sits on the counter like a fire extinguisher, visible, untouched. He didn't ask for gratitude, which makes gratitude heavier and somehow cleaner. Boundaries here feel like cushions, not walls. When he passes through, he's heat and distance in equal parts. That helps. The baby rolls, a small tide under my hand, as if approving the itinerary. We can take today in quarters, not all at once. If fear shows up, it can sit. But it doesn't get a vote. By noon, more lines are crossed than not. No parade, no music, just steadier breath, a kitchen that looks ready, and a body that doesn't argue with standing. Maybe healing sounds like this. Pencil tapping the margin, kettle settling, garden hose clicking off. Days add up when nobody is subtracting you. Mornings stop being trials and become checklists. Oatmeal, prenatal, water bottle. A short stretch Nora taught me so my hips don't complain. I move slower than I used to, but not because I'm afraid, because I'm allowed. There's a rhythm here that doesn't ask for apologies. I water the herbs until the soil goes dark and sweet. I fold towels the way my grandmother did. Edges meeting edges, corners squared like small promises. I write tiny labels for the fridge so I won't forget what needs eating first. Nora smiles at my neat rows and doesn't correct me. She lets me help without making help mean, prove you're grateful. Logan leaves early. He comes back late. He doesn't hover. Some nights he eats what I make, and his nod is more than a thank you. It's proof I can still bring something to a table. On the mornings he's gone before sunrise, there's a sticky note near the kettle. Out early. Call Nora if you need. The notes are short, like him, but steady. At the clinic, Dr. Miller warms the gel and says the numbers we want to hear. The printer whispers out a grainy moon, and I try to memorize the weight of that paper, the way hope can fit on a 4-inch square. My daughter kicks when I laugh. She kicks when oatmeal smells like cinnamon. She kicks when the nurse forgets my name and calls me Mom, and something inside me decides not to correct her. I track spending with a pencil Nora left by the phone. Room and board means I can stop counting slices of bread. A small stipend stretches farther when nobody is adding interest to your fear. I put $3 in a jar and label it baby socks, and it feels like I just rented a future by the week. There are spikes. Moments my chest tightens at the sound of a door, footsteps on a porch, a shadow crossing the window. But the house answers me with ordinary things. The dryer's hum, the clock in the hall, water ticking off the rosemary. Safety has a sound I'd forgotten. I'm not healed. I'm housed. I'm fed. I'm heard. Recovery is less miracle than repetition. Sip, breathe, rest, repeat. And somewhere between folding towels and hearing that heartbeat gallop through plastic speakers, a thought I didn't dare keep finally stays. Maybe we're allowed to be wanted. Maybe we're allowed to stay. Waiting rooms are designed to sand people down. Neutral walls, neutral smiles, a clock that moves slow enough to doubt it. I fold my appointment slip again, like smaller paper means smaller worry. July sticks to the glass doors. My daughter turns under my skin, saying, "We're here. We're here." Logan drove and took the farthest chair. Phone face down, shoulders loose, distance worn like respect. He doesn't hover, and somehow that steadies me more than any speech. Perfume arrives before the first word. Vanessa. Sweet, edged with bleach. Keith follows half a step behind, jaw set like furniture. Their eyes do the same audit they always did. Shoes, belly, silence. I feel old habits stand up inside me, ready to apologize for existing. I touch my belly. The bump answers with a small push, a metronome of no. I borrow her rhythm. Vanessa's smile is stainless steel. So you landed on your feet. She purrs, meaning, prove it. Her glance skates to Logan, hunting a plot. Keith says nothing, but the quiet is loaded and familiar. I remember dinners where I mistook silence for safety. Here is what's different. I brought a new narrator. The woman who learned rain, floors, and the way kindness can be simple. The woman who ate hospital oatmeal and tasted a future. I breathe until my ribs stop shaking. Then I choose a sentence that isn't a plea. I'm here for prenatal care. Full stop. Not a backstory. Not a bargain. A border. Vanessa laughs like thin glass. That used to shrink me. Today, it just measures her. I stand, gather my folder, and move. Not fast, not afraid. Just done. I pass her perfume like stepping out of a cloud. Logan doesn't rise, doesn't rescue. He shifts a fraction, aligning with the door like a hinge, a backup plan that doesn't announce itself. It feels like trust, and also like permission. The nurse calls my name. The syllables fit. I follow them toward numbers and a heartbeat that belongs to us. Behind me, the past rearranges itself into a rumor. The trick wasn't forgetting them. It was remembering myself. The sliding doors exhale us into late afternoon. My legs are still rubber from monitors and relief. He keeps a respectful step between us, like walking beside something skittish. No speech about debt. No sermon about lessons. Just a simple offer. Stay, light work, room and board, a small stipend. No hooks in the words, no barbs. He holds them the way you hold a glass of water to someone who's thirsty. Old training nags me. Never owe, never need, never make anyone your shelter. But the math is stubborn. The baby needs calories. The baby needs rest. The baby needs a plan. Pride doesn't feed a heartbeat. Fear doesn't keep a roof on in a storm. So I test the edges. What if I fall behind? Then we adjust. What if people talk? Then let them. What if I can't repay? Do what you can. He answers without trying to win. Somehow that feels like the first real safety check I've ever passed. Through the clinic glass, I feel eyes on us, the past measuring my steps. Let it look. I'm not walking back through a door that requires me to shrink to fit. I'm choosing a hallway with air in it. I think of Nora's handbook, bowls set gently on trays, forms signed without pressure. A pattern repeats. Not rescue as spotlight, but as structure. Time you can count on. Boundaries that keep shape. Work with dignity so my hands remember they're good at more than absorbing blame. I picture a calendar. Appointments I will keep. Tasks I will finish. A crib I will earn. I picture my daughter's name on an envelope, not as a condition, but as a celebration. If there's noise later, gossip, threats, headlines, I can meet it standing up. Because today I said something out loud and heard myself believe it. Safety isn't a miracle, it's a decision you say out loud. The car door seals with a soft hush. Inside, I breathe once, slow and full. Outside, the world keeps watching. Let it. I'll keep choosing. And when the next door opens, I'll walk through it on my own name. Silence used to be my prison. Today, it might be my shield. Nora's phone glowed on the counter, face up like a mirror telling a story that wasn't ours. She angled the screen so only I could see the blur, a blog headline stitching my name to a man whose spare room became a scandal in someone else's font. I didn't tap. I know the appetite of strangers. It grows when you feed it. From the study, Drew's call came through Logan's phone. I caught the shape of their talk more than the words. Don't respond, don't explain. Protect her first. The kettle breathed. The soup still steamed in its pot. I let it be. Nora's shoulder touched mine, steady, without crowding. In another house, I would have rushed to apologize for existing too loudly. In this one, I could decide to breathe and do nothing more. I used to think quiet meant surrender. In that old world, silence bought me another day in rooms that measured me like a cost. Here, quiet is a choice that keeps me whole. I put my palm on my belly. My daughter shifted, uninterested in gossip, demanding calories and blood and air. That felt like an agenda worth keeping. So I kept it. The post would refresh. People who have never been pregnant would announce ethics for my body. I counted the things I actually own. Inhale, exhale, a spoon I can lift, a name I don't have to defend to anyone in this kitchen. I let the phone face down and thought, the internet cannot hold me. Then the door sounded like business. A courier's knock. Nora opened. A firm, polite exchange. A thick envelope in her hand, heavier than paper has any right to be. The return address was the old house in a suit it wears for court. I didn't pass it to Logan. I slid it open myself because the first boundary is simple. My life, my hands. They finally wanted paperwork. I finally had a place to read it. The letter marched in capital letters. Notice, demand, preserve, verify, as if volume could become virtue. It asked for samples before breath, for timelines that fit their optics, for my cooperation dressed as reason. It warned me about defamation as if telling the truth were a crime with my name on it. The room refused to match the drama. Light fell kindly. Logan stood in the doorway and did not reach for the pages. He watched my face instead. My attorney will review it tonight, he said, even and plain. If any testing happens, it's after the birth, and only with your consent. No one pushes you. He placed the words where I could stand on them. Nora leaned her hip against the counter like a lighthouse leaning into weather. Eat, she said, and set down fruit and water. I read the letter again, slower. The sentences were tidy, cold, and sure of themselves. They forgot one fact. Paper does not decide. People decide? I decided. After she's here, I said, and only if I say yes. It wasn't a speech. It was a line on the floor I did not need to paint twice. Logan nodded once. Drew texted names of firms who treat this stuff like routine weather. Note it, dress for it, don't worship it. Nora slid the envelope into a folder labeled Household, which felt like the right insult to an overconfident document. Outside, screens multiplied opinions. Inside, dinner continued, the ordinary choir that keeps a person steady. I remembered nights arguing with people who came to take, trading sleep for the illusion of being understood. Tonight, I saved my voice. I would need it for labor, for lullabies, for no. I pictured Evelyn practicing control in the margins of this letter. I pictured Keith rehearsing concern for a reputation he treats better than people. They sent urgency like a package marked fragile and assumed I would sign. I didn't. I filed it next to warranties and invoices where it belongs. I am not naive. More posts will try to bloom. More envelopes will pretend to be fate. But I no longer live in the doorway of people who enjoy seeing me small. I live here, where the blinds close to the angle I prefer, where a man asks if the soup needs salt, where a woman reminds me to lie down when my back argues. So I practice small choices that train me for large ones. I sip water. I eat slowly. I text Dr. Miller's number to myself again, because repetition builds muscle. I ask Logan to leave the porch light on and to let the gate cameras notify him, not me. He says, okay. He offers follow-through. I can use that. When the house stills, I hold my belly and give my daughter a version of the day she can understand. We were seen and did not shatter. We were named and did not answer. Someone tried to hurry us, and we chose slow. She answers with a quiet turn, a press of heel that feels like agreement. They finally want paperwork from me. I finally have a place to read it. And a voice to leave it there until the time I choose. Silence used to be my prison. Tonight, it is the door I close gently behind us while we rest and stay whole. Trust is heavier at dusk. It sits in the throat and waits. He asked if I wanted to correct the rumor, to say something loud enough to cool a headline. The old me would have rushed to fix it, would have talked until I was small again. But I touch the curve of my belly and count the reasons to stay quiet. 1 heartbeat, 1 spine forming, 10 tiny fingers that will never fit inside any public statement. No, I tell him. I choose silence for her. My voice doesn't shake. It surprises me. It surprises the air. He doesn't argue. He doesn't explain my choice back to me. He just listens like it's a decision with weight and worth. We set rules that sound like fences you can see through. No interviews, no comments, no texts to strangers with microphones. If anyone needs anything, they go through Drew, a door that locks, but also opens for groceries and doctor's appointments and plain, regular days. I watch his face while we draw the lines. He's careful with the pen, careful like he is when he hands me a bowl, when he leaves a step between us so I can breathe. Trust sounded like a question he waited for me to answer. And I do. I say yes without saying the word. By choosing a quiet that belongs to me this time. There's a wind in the trees that smells like water and cut grass. Somewhere, a neighbor laughs. The world keeps rolling its ordinary sounds forward, and for once, I let them carry me. I'm not hiding. I'm choosing. Silence used to be the cage they put around me. Today, it is a blanket I tuck around my daughter. If the noise wants me, it can knock on a rule, and the rule will answer. We stand up together, and he doesn't touch my back as we go inside. He lets me lead. It's a small thing. It feels like a door opening the right way. Glass makes every sound smaller. The gate camera blinks, a polite little eye doing its job, and the buzzer rattles the afternoon. I don't have to look, but I do. Old names have a way of finding new doorbells. The last time I was on a doorstep with their name on it, my plea fell into a carpet. I remembered the texture more than the words, how soft the rug was beneath my knees, how hard the room felt above it. Now I stand behind a window, palm over belly, air conditioning whispering like a friend who doesn't need me to answer. Once, I begged on their doorstep. Today, I watch from a window. There's a lawyer's briefcase, neat and square. There's a mother's mouth, all pressed lines and history rewritten. There's a man who used to say my name like it belonged to him. They stay outside the fence. It matters. The gravel between us is a mile wide. Logan walks to the line and doesn't cross it. Calm looks different up close. From here, it's a rhythm in his shoulders, a count in his steps. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't invite them in. Rules doing exactly what rules are supposed to do. Hold shape under weather. Nora leans near the intercom, courteous like always, but the kind of courteous that knows when to close a folder. I can't hear the words, just the shape of them. Offers, warnings, the choreography of people who think power is a language you either speak or you don't. I touch the glass, cool and steady. The baby rolls once like she's turning a page. I breathe through it the way Nora taught me. 4 counts in, 6 counts out. Breath a rope I can hold while old ghosts practice their old tricks outside. The ache of being misnamed is still there, but it's quieter than my pulse. Quieter than this house. Quieter than the choice I made in the garden. I'm not a mystery to myself anymore. I know when to stand back. I know when to stay seated and let a boundary do the talking. Through the glass, I see what I once could not imagine. Someone meeting their tactics with procedure, not panic. Someone who doesn't barter with my safety to buy himself an image. The sun slides lower. A bird lands on the fence and doesn't startle. I press my hand lower on my belly, and for a second, everything is simple. The pain between us, the path back to the couch, the timer on the kettle, the plan for dinner. Let them speak to the gate. Let them practice being small against a rule. I have a window, a witness, and a room that remembers my name the way I say it. Pain doesn't always announce itself with sirens. Sometimes it starts like a zipper tugging under the skin, one tooth at a time, until your breath goes shallow and your hands go useless. I'm halfway down the hallway when my belly hardens into a rock. I grip the doorframe and try to smile at Nora like this is a cramp I can out-stubborn. She doesn't buy it. One palm on my shoulder, the other low on my abdomen. She feels the truth without making me say it. Breathe like you're filling your back, she tells me. And I do, because I want to be the kind of mother who listens when help shows up wearing soft shoes. The old training kicks in. Apologize, shrink, say I'm fine. But my daughter doesn't need my pride. She needs oxygen and blood and a mother who won't pretend. Call Dr. Miller, I manage, and the words feel heavier than they should, like keys I never knew I was allowed to hold. Nora's already dialing. Logan is moving. Quiet fast. Coat, keys, a bag that somehow has my ID, my prenatal card, a bottle of water. He narrates nothing. He doesn't tell me to calm down. He clears space, opens a door, kneels to tie a shoe I didn't realize had come undone. I hear myself counting. 4 in, 6 out. And for once, the counting isn't about surviving someone else's mood. It's about keeping time with a heartbeat inside me. Another wave tightens and I curl around it. The world narrows to a rectangle of light on the floorboards, and Nora's voice steady as a metronome. You're not alone. Sit when it eases. It eases. I sit. My fingers shake around the water bottle. I hate that they can see me scared, but I love that I don't have to pretend I'm not. Strength isn't stone. It's permission. It's saying, yes, help me, before the help has to be an ambulance. We move again. 3 steps. Stop. Breathe. The front door used to be an edge I fell off. Tonight it's a threshold with people on both sides of it. One opening, one guiding, one walking slightly ahead like he's clearing a path I can trust. I think about all the times I had to ask for less, so I wouldn't owe more. Then I remember my daughter, and I let that thought go. Owning this moment means letting someone steady my elbow, letting someone else drive, letting my body be honest. The car door is cool against my legs. The seat leans back just enough. You tell us if it spikes again, Nora says, buckling me in with the patience of a teacher. I do. It does. And still, between the squeezes, space opens. In that space, I say out loud what used to be a silent dare. I need you. Not forever. Not for everything. Just now, while I am still learning where my limits end and her life begins. The hospital used to mean fluorescent questions and a chair that squeaked while someone judged my answers. Tonight the lights are softer. The questions are simple. Pain scale, last meal, weeks along. Dr. Miller's eyes find mine before her hands find the monitor. Not labor, she says after the first strip of paper curls out, but we'll watch you for a bit. The word watch doesn't feel like surveillance anymore. It feels like guardrails. I close my eyes and listen for her. My daughter. Steady, then faster, then steady again. Fear taps at the base of my neck, asking to come in with its usual pitch. What if they show up? What if they make a scene? What if you can't stop them? I open my eyes to the doorway and see the answer already there. Drew stands with a clipboard and a polite spine. Names on a list. Visitors limited, he tells the nurse, and she nods like this is a hospital, not a stage. Through a slice of glass, I catch a flash. Keith's jaw, Vanessa's lips pressed into a line that photographs well. They're not closer than the threshold, not past the desk. Drew speaks with the guard the way Logan speaks with traffic. Calm, predictable, no sudden moves. I don't look again. I am not evidence. I am not a rumor begging for a better angle. I am a mother with a belt around my belly measuring a wave that will pass. Logan doesn't hover. He takes the chair that doesn't squeak and parks it at a respectful distance, knees forward, hands loose, like he's ready to stand if I want him to, and ready to sit if I don't. Nora rubs a circle on my back that could undo a lifetime of bracing. Nobody asks for a statement. Nobody says, "Be reasonable," or "Don't make trouble." The only instructions are the kind that keep a baby safe. Sip, breathe, lie on your side, tell us when it tightens. I can do those. I can do those, and I don't have to barter anything for the privilege. A nurse checks the monitor. "Baby's happy," she says, and the word lands in a part of me that still doubts happiness is for people like us. I let myself believe it for 10 seconds, then 20. Dr. Miller returns with the same calm tone she always uses. Likely stress-induced contractions, fluids, rest. "We'll keep you for observation and send you home tonight if things settle. Tomorrow morning at the latest." Home. The way she says it makes the hospital room feel like a bridge instead of a border. Outside, I hear murmurs that aren't for me. Papers move, the kind that used to weaponize my life. Tonight they're shields, held by someone else, positioned between me and a corridor I don't have to walk. For a second I'm back on a cold sidewalk counting wet bills. Then Nora's hand tethers me to now. "You're okay," she hums. Not as a promise, but as a fact. The next contraction is smaller. I meet it without flinching. The monitor prints proof I can read. Arcs softening, intervals widening. My body is not betraying me. It is responding. To fear, yes, but also to safety. I think about how easy it would be to turn my head. To give the old story one more look just to confirm it still wants me. I don't. I anchor my gaze to the paper strip like it's a timeline. On it, I can trace where panic peaked and where care got louder. Drew steps in long enough to tell me the visitor list is closed. Logan checks the room once with his eyes. Not me, like his job is to make sure nothing else tries to enter without permission. I breathe to the count Nora sets, and for the first time in a long time, I am bored by drama. I am interested in numbers. Heart rate, blood pressure, centimeters of space between the tightness and the release. When the room quiets, I rest my palm on my belly and make a small promise into the cotton of the gown. You will not learn your worth from people who only speak in headlines. You will learn it from meals that arrive on time, from doors that stay shut when they should, from the way I ask for help before I break. The white room has a door. Outside it are faces that used to own my fear. Inside it are people facing outward. I let my eyes close. For once, I don't keep one open to spot the next blow. The next thing I notice is the rhythm evening out, the doctor's shoes moving away, and Nora whispering that the worst of the spike has passed. I believe her. I believe myself. I believe this little heartbeat has a team now, and I don't have to apologize for that. They put us in a small consultation room with a clock that sounded louder than it should. Dr. Miller sat between us like a calm in a place that remembered storms. Logan stood back near the wall, hands relaxed, every muscle saying he was there if needed and gone if not. Keith arrived with that tired swagger of someone who thinks a meeting is a stage and a woman is a prop. I didn't bring an audience. I brought a spine. I didn't sit to argue, or to relive, or to convert him to a version of me he could respect. I sat to put the floor under my feet in writing. I wanted the room to hear that I understood what my safety cost and what it bought. So I said the terms out loud, the way people read a contract line by line so nothing sneaks through. First, I will do a paternity test after my daughter is born if the law requires it. Not before. Not while my body is still carrying her heartbeat. No blood, no swabs, no stress that risks her, so someone can feel in control. After she is here, healthy, breathing, then we follow the statute and the science, not a rumor or a headline. Second, there is no contact while I am pregnant. Not from him, not from his mother, not from friends, associates, or strangers he sends to run errands for his conscience. No calls, no texts, no messages through lawyers except what the law makes necessary, and even then, only on paper, only through the right channels. My phone will not be a weapon. My front step will not be a courtroom. Third, everything goes through attorneys. No surprise visits, no quick talks, no offers folded into threats and called generosity. If there's a sentence to be said, it will sit in a letterhead, and another adult will witness it. I said it the way a person takes a breath after a long hold. Slow, full, deliberate. Dr. Miller nodded once like a gavel that didn't need to slam. Logan didn't break the air with a single word. He didn't need to. Being there was enough. Keith tried old tricks. Doubt, pity, revision. He wondered out loud if I was overwhelmed, if I was confused by the attention. He tried to replace the night I remember with a version that keeps him comfortable. I let the words pass like a train that doesn't stop here. You can watch something roar by without climbing aboard. I didn't raise my voice. I raised the terms. The room changed shape after that. Or maybe I did. Boundaries, it turns out, have weight. You can hear them land. You can feel the floor get steadier. When Dr. Miller ended the meeting, it wasn't a dismissal. It was a closing ceremony. The door opened outward, and Logan stepped aside so I could leave first. The hall smelled like disinfectant and something sweet from the nursery wing, and I thought, this is what choosing myself sounds like. Paper, witness, exit. Back at the house, quiet returned like a familiar coat. The noise outside didn't vanish. It just stayed outside. Nora taped a printed calendar to the fridge, weeks 38 through 40, little checkboxes next to bag packed, install car seat, charge phone, snacks ready. She wrote in tidy letters and added hearts smaller than dimes that made the grid look gentler. Recovery had been a schedule. Now preparation was too. She left a pen on a magnet clip, as if inviting me to make small promises to myself in ink. Logan carried a box from the garage and kneeled in the driveway next to the SUV. I watched from the porch as he clicked the baby seat into the base, unsnapped it, then locked it again, double-checking until the indicator showed level. No speeches. No, look what I did. Just the clean work of getting it right. So there would be one fewer thing to worry about when worry is loud. He wiped his hands on a rag and looked up at the sky the way people do when they're measuring time without a clock. Inside, I folded tiny onesies, the cotton soft enough to make my throat tight. I smoothed the seams like I was ironing out a thought. I set aside a hat with little ears even though I told myself I wouldn't get attached to cute. Hope sneaks in anyway. It likes drawers and fresh laundry and rooms that smell like lavender and dish soap. When I got tired, I sat, and when I noticed I was sitting longer than I meant to, Nora pressed a glass of water into my hand and said, "We're pacing, not racing." She taught me how to breathe through the practice cramps without bargaining with them. Drew came by with a folder he called Boring and Powerful. Inside were copies of the hospital pre-registration, the pediatrician's info, and letters already drafted in case we needed a restraining order. He made it sound ordinary on purpose. Safety, he explained without saying the word, can be a routine. He didn't ask me to relive anything, he asked me where I wanted the folder kept. We decided on the second drawer of the desk in the front room, reachable, not dramatic, like extra batteries. The house learned our rhythm: morning stretches, small chores, meals that stayed down, short walks in the yard. Nora kept the porch sweepingly clean like it was a ritual. Logan checked the door locks each night and then pretended he'd just been passing by. I noticed the way he turned lights off behind him, the way he left my mug on the same spot on the counter so I could find it by feel. I noticed that my shoulders sat a little lower and my jaw didn't ache when I woke up. Calm isn't silent, it's organized. Every so often, the outside world tried to press its face to the glass. A new post, a spinning rumor, a text from an unknown number that stayed unanswered. But the circle held. The lawyer filters worked. Dr. Miller's check-ins were clear and short. My body kept doing its job. My daughter rolled under my hand like she was tracing her own map. I talked to her while I packed the hospital bag. 1 blanket, 2 outfits, documents, chapstick, socks I wouldn't mind throwing away, snacks that wouldn't melt. I told her about the people waiting for her, the nurse with steady hands, the doctor who says things once so you can believe them, the woman who keeps soup ready, the man who tightened the car seat 5 times just to be sure. I used to think peace was a feeling that arrived like a miracle. Then I learned how much of it is paperwork, checklists, names on speed dial, and people who show up on time. It's a car parked facing the street. It's a bag by the door. It's a promise you say out loud and someone else writes down. It isn't flashy. It doesn't trend. It sits in a folder, in a calendar square, in a chair pulled close enough if your knees forget you. When I turned off the lamp, the house made the small sounds of a place that knows who it shelters. The baby seat waited in the car. The folder waited in the drawer. My breath waited for what came next. And for the first time in a long time, the waiting felt like safety, not a sentence. Peace, I learned, is paperwork, and people who show up labor didn't arrive like thunder. It gathered in quiet measures, a pressure that rose and eased as if my body were checking its own hinges. Nora set her palm over mine and matched my breathing, counting low and ordinary, the kind of counting that makes rooms smaller and fear smaller with it. Dr. Miller's voice stayed steady. "You're okay. We're here." I let my jaw unclench. I let a wave pass without bargaining. Outside the door, I pictured Logan on a hard chair, elbows on knees, keeping the promise he made to my boundaries. Not pacing, not peeking in. Just holding space the way decent people do, without asking for credit. Another wave. I asked for water, then a different position. That was the whole miracle. Asking. Strength wasn't gritting my teeth through it. Strength was letting hands become handrails, taking support before I broke. The light in the room was soft, not the interrogating white I remembered from uglier rooms. Directions came simple. Inhale 4, exhale 6, shoulders down, ride it up, ride it over. Nora named the small wins like mile markers. Your shoulders dropped. That breath carried you farther. Good. Dr. Miller watched the numbers but never stopped watching me. Pain had edges. Breath could round them. Time loosened. Minutes blurred and then stacked again. Progress was work, not spectacle. Pressure, breath, small nods, the clatter of nothing dramatic. No audience, no bargains, no price for being allowed to stay. Someone said, "You're close," and a door in me opened. I kept my chin tucked and my eyes open and my fear outside the circle of their voices. The room grew warm without the light changing. Then sound arrived, clean, insistent, brand new, and everything in me stood still to listen. Her cry was the sound of my name coming back to me. Warm weight followed. They set her on my chest, Small as a prayer, heavy as a promise kept. New skin against skin, new breath against the place that had carried her. I counted fingers not because I doubted, but because I finally had time to witness. Nora laughed softly, the kind of laugh that closes a circle. Dr. Miller called numbers I didn't need to memorize. I whispered hello to a person who had never heard a lie. I said, "We did it," and meant all of us. Logan waited in the hallway because I asked for that boundary, and he held it without stepping over the line he could have claimed. When quiet returned, papers arrived, the ordinary forms that carry extraordinary gravity. Nora fetched water. Dr. Miller explained each line. I held a pen that didn't shake. Mother's name. I wrote Bennett in ink that looked steadier than I felt. The letters were mine, unborrowed, not negotiated, spelled without apology. Child's given name. I wrote hope. Not for headlines, not for performance, but for nights survived and doors that opened when they didn't have to. Hope for the road ahead, for the sound we just heard and the silence we chose on purpose. Another box asked for an emergency contact. I wrote Logan Reed, a name that means help without a claim. He does not stand in for a father, he stands beside a mother. There's a difference, and it matters. The hospital had rules about visitors. For once, a rule worked in my favor. No Evelyn rehearsing composure, no Keith practicing strategy, no Vanessa hunting angles. Outside, opinions were weather. Inside, we worked on weatherproofing. There was a space for father's name. I left it blank. Truthful, exact, enough. Old Shame flew a slow circle looking for a place to land and found none. I didn't borrow a last name this time. I gave one. I didn't accept a settlement. I set terms. My child first. My voice steady. My home defined by people who show up and face outward. I signed where it asked for signatures and breathed easier seeing my handwriting hold. We built a small system while the ink dried. Feeding times penciled on a board. Follow-ups booked at dates that sounded like a future. A car seat clicked into place with a note of certainty. Nora tucked the blanket around my knees the way you tuck the past in for a long sleep. Logan stepped in, kept his distance, asked what he could carry that wouldn't be too heavy for the elevator. I asked for water, then for a photograph. He took it from a respectful edge of the room, a nurse who guarded the door, a mother who chose, a daughter who arrived. The picture caught my tired smile and her particular frown, the one that says she intends to be fully herself. It looked like a beginning that didn't ask permission. I folded the paperwork and slid it under the bassinet. The ordinary architecture of a life that will hold. Systems, names, choices. Dr. Miller reviewed the next steps in that same steady voice. What to watch for, when to call, who to trust. None of it sounded like judgment. All of it sounded like care. I pressed my lips to Hope's temple and felt the soft thrum of a future that will include bruised days and bright ones, but not a return to rooms where worth is weighed on scales I didn't build. The threshold we stand on was chosen, not assigned. The door is shut, but not against me. It is shut for us. Outside, storms can move along to other weather. Inside, my daughter sleeps, and I am not bracing. I am resting. We have what we need. A last name that is mine to give, a first name that belongs to her, and a beginning measured in small, brave breaths. Morning is simple on the porch. Hope is tucked against my chest, warm and heavy, the way new life is. Inside, Nora moves through the kitchen with the soft confidence of someone who has learned how to help without announcing it. Logan steps out carrying an envelope, not flowers, not a rescue note, just paper he sets on the table between us. Inside, my follow-up dates, an insurance card with my name spelled correctly, and a short agreement, room and board. Flexible light work when I'm able. 1 year. A single line in bold. I can leave any time. For years, paper meant other people making decisions with my signature at the bottom. Today, it waits for me. Nobody asks for my statement or my side for a headline. They ask what I need. I look down at my daughter and feel the answer settle. Something steady. Not a bargain. Not a leash. Nora brings a warm cup and a smile that lands like a blanket. Logan shifts back a half step, hands clear, gaze steady. The practiced distance of a man who knows boundaries are a kind of care. He doesn't reach for the pen. He doesn't reach for the story. He leaves room for me to decide. I breathe, slow and even. Doors used to be tests I failed. In or out, wrong either way. This one is open and quiet. Staying, I realize, isn't surrender. It's consent. It's claiming the lock and keeping the key. It's choosing work I can do, rest I can own, mornings that don't grade my worth. I kiss Hope's hair. Then I sign. Grace Bennett. The letters feel like anchors. Small, honest, enough. I meet their eyes and let thank you be simple. Not performance. Not debt. Fear still rides along, but it's in the back seat now. Some rescues are loud. Mine was a door left open, and the courage to walk through it.